When James Cameron let it slip during an interview that he thought it might take $2 billion for Avatar 2 to break even, everybody immediately started focusing on that number for good reason. That's a ridiculous number for something to hit just to start making money. Well, recently, with the reveal of the actual production budget and the estimates for the marketing, and James Cameron himself revising that number back down to maybe like $1.5 billion, it looks like Avatar 2 is already on the precipice of making money and is doing so at a historic rate. Avatar 2's unprecedented third weekend virtually guarantees a $2 billion gross. Now, as I said, I did a review of this on the RK Outpost live channel. Didn't expect to like it. Wasn't a big fan of the first movie. I did like Avatar 2. I really did. I thought that the very simple traditional messaging of a father trying to protect his family, I think it was very effective. And it looks like it's been very effective on a lot of people. The reason that this third weekend is so kind of unprecedented is because in the third weekend, Avatar made more money than it did in its second weekend. Avatar: The Way of Water rules over New Year's. Global gross hits $1.38 billion. This thing is going to be at $1.4 billion by the time tomorrow hits. Audiences rang in 2023 with a trip to Pandora as James Cameron's Avatar: The Way of Water continued to dominate the holiday box office. The ambitious and staggeringly expensive science fiction epic has been in the works for years, blowing past several release dates as Cameron figured out a way to expand his story of a race of alien creatures struggling against hostile invaders. He also later created new technology that would allow him to do performance capture work underwater. And I think that's a lot of that money, the development of that tech, a lot of that was just really front-loaded in this movie. There's no doubt about that. The sets they built, the technology they had to build, things like that. It's one of the reasons that the production budget looks to be $460 million just for this movie. The wait appears to have been worth it. Avatar: The Way of Water brought in a projected $63.4 million domestically over New Year's weekend and is expected to generate $82.4 million over the 4-day holiday. And the reason that that's so crazy is because you look at this, it's not even a curve anymore. It's just turned into a fucking straight line as this movie continues to make money. Look at this. No change. And in fact, just a slight increase when you look at the third weekend. A 53% drop from the first weekend, not maybe as good as people thought, especially with the winter snowstorm that went all across the United States, may have been a contributing factor. People didn't think it was going to drop quite this much. But now in the third weekend, it actually went back up just a little bit. That is crazy. And it shows you the kind of legs that this movie is having, similar to what the first Avatar had. And of course, internationally, it's also dominating right now. When you look at this, almost at $1.4 billion worldwide, almost at $1 billion at the international box office. We'll probably cross $1 billion, not with tomorrow's box office, but probably the one after that. And just an incredible success. I think you got to call Avatar that, because at this point, we do know it's going to break even despite that massive budget. I predicted $2 billion worldwide. It looks like it's well on the way, especially when you look at some of the other things we've seen. By doing so, the James Cameron film achieved a noteworthy box office drop of 0%. Such unrivaled and sustained earnings would suggest a lifetime gross of $2 billion is virtually guaranteed. When you look at Spider-Man: No Way Home, Spider-Man: No Way Home did massive things at the box office. It had a bigger opening for sure than Avatar 2, but it had like an over 60% first weekend drop and then a 34% third weekend drop. And Avatar 2 is going the opposite direction. For comparison, the original Avatar has grossed $2.9 billion over its lifetime, but it did get re-released several times within this 13-year period that it's been since then. The sequel's success is not entirely unforeseen, as Avatar: Way of Water passed $1 billion less than 2 weeks after it hit theaters, with $300 million domestically. Now, is this going to make as much money as the first one did? Certainly not, because it's way more expensive. But I do think a lot of that cost is probably front-loaded in the development of the tech, because it sounds like the next one, Avatar 3, which is already wrapped filming, that production budget is likely at more normal for Hollywood, $250 million. So if it has anywhere near the kind of success this had, it's going to make a just shit ton of money. Disney's fucking lucky that they had this at the end of the year, that they're actually going to get some big budget thing that's going to get a good return for them, because what they had a large majority of the year was full of box office disappointments, disasters, and flops. So I'm not one. I certainly don't like to see Disney have success. I think a lot of this is probably because it was just James Cameron thing to do whatever he wanted with. Regardless of how many dumb things James Cameron says out there about, I cut I cut 10 minutes of gun violence out because I don't want to glorify guns. You still had guns throughout this entire movie. So people see that as an empty virtue signal, along with a lot of the other stuff James Cameron says. But whether you liked it or not, I liked it and a lot of people hated it. This movie is continuing to make money, money, money. And I think it says what it should say to Hollywood with its success of something like Top Gun Maverick, a fairly simple story with very traditional values in terms of what it says, what the meaning of the film really is, not the underlying bullshit environmental propaganda, no, but what the characters are dealing with, the father-son relationship, the family relationship. Audiences are starving for that kind of thing. The success of Top Gun Maverick and now the success of Avatar 2, The Way of Water, I think clearly spells that out. People are done with the deconstruction and the subversion of expectations that we get from woke Hollywood. People are just ready to get back to traditional storytelling just like this.